Welcome to An Apple a Day, a podcast, a resource, a community. Share your experiences and learn from others as we overcome barriers and learn to live a happy, healthy life with a disability. Welcome to the community. Here's your host, Jimmy Apple.
Welcome to another episode of An Apple a Day. I'm your host, Jimmy Apple. An Apple a Day is brought to you by www.famousapple.com. Famousapple.com is the home site for this podcast, so if you get a minute, check it out. And while you're tripping around the web, make sure you stop by Facebook and check out our group page. You can find it by going to www.famousapple.com/group. That's www.famousapple.com/group. So how you feeling today, my friends? You feeling good? You feeling strong? You feeling better than you did yesterday? Excellent. You can't ask for better than that. We've got a good one for you today. And speaking of our group, that's where our guest is from. Our guest today is Karen Liotta. She's a member of our Facebook group, and she is going to tell you a story, a love story between her and her husband. She was his caregiver, and she's going to tell you how she became his caregiver and what people expect from a caregiver, and a whole lot more about nursing homes and how she went from being her husband's caregiver to working in a bank to going back to being a professional caregiver. And she still works as a caregiver today. Her story is an interesting one. It's a love story between her and her husband, and it's a love story between her and the people she takes care of today. It's going to tug at the strings of your heart. It's funny in parts, it's sad in other parts, it's romantic in some parts. You're really going to like this story. So sit back and relax, and I want you to meet Karen Liotta. She's a sweetheart. She's a lovely person, and you can't help but like her. That's all I can say. So as I told you, I have a dear friend of mine on with us today. Her name is Karen Liotta. Now, Karen originally came from the Bronx, but she decided to move out and move to Connecticut. Karen's been a caregiver all of her life. She took off for a while, thought she'd try her hand at banking, but she said she couldn't do that. She had to go back to caregiving. And now she's a professional caregiver again. I'm not going to tell you her age because I can't count that high. But let's welcome Karen Liotta to the podcast. Hello, Karen. How are you today?
Hi, Jim. I'm good. Interesting to hear my life story told in a short period of time. And it sort of went that way. But actually, yes, thank you for not giving away my age.
I
am only 25.
I only have two hands and one foot. I can't count.
And a crazy brain. And, yeah, I was born in the Bronx, and which was wonderful growing up there, and had a wonderful neighborhood and challenges as I grew up, family-wise. And at a younger age, I had to help my mom, who was unfortunately then divorced when it was not known to be, and help with my sister. And it was just always in me. I always loved my baby dolls, so to speak. I was always someone who cared and took care of. It was just, it's an innate part of me. And time went on, as it did, and I was helping my sister. And then time went on, I helped my sister again, taking care of her and her children during different situations, all with love. And that's why I was saying to you, Jimmy, I don't call not caregiving, not a caregiver. When we take care of one another, whatever the situation might be, it's from love. It's from our hearts that we do it. And every, how do I say it? It could be a mother, father, sister, husband. It's just who you're there with. You do it from your heart. And fast forward, well, I did. I through my life. I'll give you a crazy story here. Okay. I married a man 33 years older than me when I was 21, and he was 57, and he was going through a divorce. We certainly didn't plan on that. Was not my plan of action, because I had a whole different thought of my life and was busy working and dating. But over the time, we became very good friends, and 5 years after being friends, we got married. There goes my story. We moved from the Bronx all the way up to Pauling, New York, raised our child, and our theory was, okay, Lou will get older than me, and I'll be older than him, and whatever. I would, life, you take a chance in life, you never know. You don't think about age. During that time, so there you go. So now I'm married to a man older. My mother is older. My father, God bless him, was older. My aunt and uncle, they were older. Things were going well until all of a sudden that age factor, now I'm in my 40s or 50s, and they are all older, and Lou even being older than them. And I didn't have anyone to fall back on. My brother was doing his from being a vet, he had a lot of post-traumatic syndrome. My sister, I still had to take care of. So I had a lot of responsibility for family. And how do you do it? You take it one day at a time. And fortunately, Jim, as you said, that I went into banking later on in life. Never thought I would do that, because I'm the creative banker. I was able, during my period of banking and in business, I met a woman who was the head of the Alzheimer's Association. And then we're going back a good 25 years ago. That was my salvation of understanding. And also through, we'd have different in banking, they'd have, I don't know what to call it, convention, but where you get to communities and you get the hospitals together and all of these businesses together. Mm-hmm. And I met hospice, a person representing hospice, and had conversation. And all of these little pieces helped me in hindsight to understand what my family members and then eventually what my husband was going through.
Can I just interrupt there? Did your husband had Alzheimer's?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy, Lou was, that's where you don't know that story?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, my God. Jim, if we're on, I'm sharing this with you. Let me tell you, Lou worked until he was in his 80s, 82.
Wow.
So if anyone, can be part of this story that you're going to hear. And 82 years old, he was physically fit, strong man, and I was working at the same time. And our son was in college. And one day, I got a call from our neighbor saying, oh, my gosh, Lou was in the market, and Pauling is a small town, and he'd forgotten how to get home. Whoa. Oh, my gosh. And it happened, and that was like a one-time thing. Didn't happen again for a long time, but it happened once. So that was the beginning. So that's why I go back to that woman who's this is where my story really goes. And so he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Wow.
I was still dealing with my mom, who was very ill, and my sister, who was having crazy times, and my uncle. So I had to juggle, and I was working. And I juggled it. I made the best that I could. And what I found going through it all is you have to need a good support system. You have to be able to say, I need help. You have to keep a sense of humor, and you can't feel sorry for yourself. You have to take the joy out of what was and keep that going. Going to Lou with the Alzheimer's, I was able to find a daycare, and he was still with it. And we pulled up to daycare, and we both cried, but he knew he couldn't be, he couldn't be home alone and didn't want to be. And they were wonderful. They included him as though he was working there with them, and gave him a purpose. He needed, and that's the other part, Jim. Everyone needs a purpose.
That's right. Life. That's absolutely right.
And they were so, oh my God, I'd go and I'd bring him in the morning before I went to work, and then in the afternoon they had a bus, the senior bus that would bring him to the bank, back to me. And we were fine. We accepted where our life was, and we continued to live. We never stopped living. Whatever family event, whatever party, wedding, going to whatever it might be, I never said I cannot go because Lou couldn't deal with it. We went, and he participated. And one day we're driving down to an event, and he liked to always dress nicely. And he said, "How do I look?" And I said, "Handsome, because I dressed you." Okay, good. It got to a point where I wasn't able to bring him to work anymore. That was another story I could go on and on about. But where I was at the day, where Lou was at the daycare, there was a woman who worked there. And so I reaching out, and I said, "Guys, I need help. Lou cannot come back to the bank anymore. I'm going to be transferred over to another area. And do you know anyone who could help me out after daycare?" So I needed daycare after daycare. And this Karen said to me, I could hear her say, "My husband's just retiring, Bill, and let me ask him." And she came back the next day. She said, "Yes, we can." And they brought him home. Karen brought him home with her every day after work at the daycare. And then I would come after work to bring Lou home. And we, again, would keep sending Lou out. Let me tell you, it's exhausting because I work to come home. It's like having a child.
Right.
And the one day, I'll make you laugh, Jim. So one day, and Lou loved gadgets. He liked sunglasses, anything that was different, 100 pair of sunglasses or different, what would I say, can opener, or I don't know, just gadgets.
Right.
Anyhow, he said, so I got him home one night and takes out of his pocket eyeglasses. They were Bill's eyeglasses. I called Bill and I said, "Bill, you going to read the newspaper tomorrow?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Nope, you're not."
"No, you're not."
"Lou has your glasses here." And we go shopping. I say, "You don't keep your hands on that wagon, Lou. Don't touch anything." "We don't want you to go to jail," we would tease, because he said, "Oh, that's cute. I like that." And so I'm trying to bring in the sense of humor. I had a great support system. My son, and his wife helped me tremendously. I had hip surgery. My stepmother was going to come and take care. She couldn't anymore because she had ended up being diagnosed with macular degeneration. And Louis and Christy and baby Kaya, she was 1 year old, came and they stayed and they took care of him while I had my surgery. They worked. He drove his father every day to daycare. She went to work. You can't, I can't emphasize enough, if you don't have the immediate family to help you, you need to then say, go back to the daycares, go back to wherever you can reach into your community. Don't feel guilty, don't feel embarrassed. Just reach out.
Exactly.
And, oh my God, I could go on, Jim. So there you go. Nothing back on the back part. I'm fast forwarding to what happened with Lou, because this is where I'm working now. Why I'm there was meant to be, okay? So with Lou, we did that for a while. Then he ended up taking a fall, and he had to go to medical-based daycare. And the medical-based daycare said to me, it's a nursing home in Putnam Ridge. I loved them. They were wonderful. And Lou can come here every day. That was different because that was very expensive. But as long as he can get into the car. If he can't get into the car anymore, he can't come. And they didn't say it that way, but
right.
More or less. And I said, okay. Oh, God. My brother built me the ramp for him to get up and down in the wheelchair. I got him up every day. We got there. We were there 7 o'clock in the morning. In the afternoon, I'd get back over at 5 o'clock, 5:30. And one day I got there, and they said, Lou can't come anymore. I said, well, I thought I'd die. What are you talking about? Well, because I said, you can get in the car. I said, no, you're killing yourself. And they talked to me about, they have an Alzheimer's unit, a dementia unit right there at Putnam Ridge. And they said, he's time. And they worked with me. And so that's how, for 4 years, he was at the nursing home. But during that time, I was just not even thinking, never even gave it a thought. Never even gave it a thought. We're just Karen and Luke. You know, when I pull up, Jimmy, and I smile because when I would pull up at night to pick him up, and the woman she volunteered to work overtime for me, she said, you know, this is just a beautiful love story. And especially because of her age difference, you know, and when they realized, and I said, we were inseparable. We had our souls met, and that was it. There was no going back. So while he was going on to being in the environment of people who are loving and caring and others who need more care. And we became very well, 4 years he was at Putnam Ridge. And you know me, I'm a social butterfly, so, you know, we would go about and visit and talk to every single person. We never sat still when I was there every single day after work and on the weekends. And I sort of knew, Jimmy, it was sort of my calling, because I could see how can I say, even in their dining area when I would get there, and they were, again, wonderful. Mm-hmm. Some folks needed more help than others, and some folks recognized earlier on that they were waiting for their dinner, where others didn't realize that their dinner they didn't miss it yet, so to speak.
Right.
Reverse. And I would say, guys, when I get there, is it okay if I help out? They could get in trouble because they said, oh, I said, that's okay. Those folks who are sitting waiting for their dinner and they know that their dinner is coming, I can do that, and you take care of the others. So my eye was always on making everyone feel comfortable and be taken care of.
But that's you. That's you to a T. You're looking to make other people feel comfortable.
Yep.
And I have to say, I've always known that about you. Since I met you. You exude that you want to make other people feel comfortable. It's
who I am, Jimmy. Yeah, I was born. Margie will tell you that. Sometimes she'll say to me, "Okay, you know, because we're so funny. We're not opposite. She cares too, but opposite in our openness."
Oh, I know. No,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I know Margie wants to help. Margie will also help me by putting a bat across my head.
But inside of her, she's just full of love.
Oh, she is. She is. Don't get me wrong.
I know. We were born. We're babies in the carriages together. We have a lot of, our stories. But you can't explain it, you know. The Ryans, oh my God, I don't know how I would have survived without them. You can edit this because this is part of it. In my own childhood, to have, well, maybe not. It's called caring. Maybe you can keep that in there, because having loving people in your life, that the Ryan family they were my family, and I'm sure, and I said that to Christine and to Tara sometimes, I'm sure Barbara probably said, oh my God, here she is, but, because they I never felt that I was an outsider.
No.
They were just very open. They were very caring. Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, they were my mother and father, and Barbara and Mary, and even when, oh my God, when Mary was on her own after Don died, and I worked where I worked in New York City. I didn't have to be there till 10 o'clock. and she was starting a job working at the hospital, so she had to be there at 7. And no one else had my timing was the only one with the right timing. I didn't even think twice about it. I got up in the morning, go over there, and get the kids ready for school, and whatever I had to do to wake the 4 of them up, get their breakfast, and get them out. Come home, get dressed, and go off to work. It was something I wanted to do. It wasn't a chore. It was just, I enjoyed it.
That was also a sign of the times, though. That was the way it was back then. That would be unheard of today. You know that.
I don't know. According to the people you're with, Jim, I don't know.
This is true, too.
The trusting part is gone,
This is true, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think within, growing up in a building, like we would call it, our building, it's with one big family, and your doors were never locked. They were always open, and you had a lot of trust. But there are others out there that we don't hear about, that who do the same.
Well, you got to think about it. There's caretakers all over. There's caregivers all over. Like, people don't realize it. The police, they're caregivers. Firemen, they're caregivers. The military, they're caregivers.
Yep.
They're taking care of all of us.
Yes. Absolutely. Yep.
The
They're
local.
giving their life. They're everyone. Yeah, they're putting their life on the line for others.
Exactly.
That's even more. That's extraordinary.
I look at my wife, and I think to myself, and I've said it to her many a times, if it wasn't for her, I probably would have been dead a couple of years ago, because she pushes me sometimes to do things that I'm supposed to do that if I was on my own, I probably wouldn't have done.
And that's human nature, Jimmy. And it is human nature. We need to have support. Back to that same thing I was saying. We have to support one another. And so I'll go back to, Lou then was at the nursing home, and then unfortunately, 4 years, he passed. It was funny. So I left there. I was still working, and I hadn't sold my house yet in Pauling. And I had, actually. I sold it 4 months before, but I hadn't retired. And they asked me, they wanted me to come there to work. And I said, I couldn't make a commitment yet. And right across from where I live, as you know, there's a place that I can't say names. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think,
right.
Where I work. And I knew, and it's for assisted living and, so on and so forth. And even independent, they have different levels. And came over here, and I said, I went over there when I first moved in to say, do you need any help? Because I knew where my heart called me again. And 12 years went by, 13 years went by. And 12 because I'm there 4. I don't know, can't do my math right now. But anyway, at some point, as you know, I said, I have to go back to work. I had to find a place to be. Financially, I needed to. And I said, where could and a young friend who happened to know someone over there said, I know someone who's the executive director, and I gave her my resume. She helped me with it. That's how I got there. So I got hired. And I knew it was my calling, again, to be in the right place. So going back, like you're saying, from my childhood and to Lou and oh my God, where I am able to share, and I do that a lot, because there are, again, they're older than me, which is old, and their husbands are having dementia, let's say, or issues, and I have become they can talk to me, and I share with them, and they communicate, to be able to be open and not be afraid of what you're feeling, and not to be afraid, again, going back to say, I need help. Or I say to them, it's okay to keep a sense of humor. And there's a fine line in all of that, but you don't want to masquerade your feelings. You don't want to just laugh and say, oh, this is fine. There's a line there. But if that person when I say keep a sense of humor, I'll give you an example. One of the gentlemen will walk by and I'll say to him, "Hey, handsome, how you doing?" and he, and his wife, no, we laugh, and as he's walking by the dinner, with his walker, and and he remembers, and he turns and says, if he sees me, he's waiting for that. "Hi, handsome, how you doing?" I teach crocheting and knitting to people who are 94 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some are younger, some older, some remember, some don't. And I had a woman come this week. Can't say her name, and she said, "Oh, I forgot my stuff." Well, I knew she would. And I said, "Okay, let me get to you. I got everything right here for you. Let me get it for you." Patience are a virtue. That's my other thing. You have to have a lot of patience.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Lot. And that comes from the heart, Jimmy. Everything comes from, you have to be that kind of a person. Comes from the heart. And got it going on it. And there she goes. Okay, see that? You can do it. Another person who is probably in her late 70s, maybe 80. And she knitted. She wants to learn how to crochet. Never crocheted before. Gave her a couple of this. Oh, okay. Like, she picked it up immediately. You have another one who will, oh my God, every week, I'm not sure. Say, oh my God, gonna hit you right over the head, I say to her. But I make light of it. I said, you know what? Again, I can't say names. And I do this. It's so funny. When Christine and Margie, hopefully they can come tomorrow, that Christine gets back from Florida, because I have a room full of blankets and things I can show them. So she said, "Oh, what are you going to do with that?" I said, "Don't you worry about it. We make something out of everything." And so we're working on this little project to make over the chair, kind of where you can put your remote. I said, just keep going. No, we'll go back. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. My favorite words are, "It's okay. It's okay." Been there, done that. Take it easy. Don't worry about it. Let's smile. Life is good. Sometimes, you have to take it from there, Jimmy. You can't, like you do. You are my inspiration.
Well, I just want to add something to this, though, because I always tell this to people that have the disabilities, but this also works true for the caregivers. It has to get to you at some point that you feel like you're up past your throat, that it has to get to you. And it's okay, I think, to have a pity party. You have to get it out of your system, because if you try to hold in all the emotions, because after a while, you have to admit, Karen, that you have to look at everything around you and go, oh my God, I got to do this again? All right, you may not voice it, but that may be the voice in your head. And you have to...
And I do. I talked to Marcia.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So when I'll come home and I was, oh my God, because she was teaching with me. So she knows the folks. She's not teaching with me anymore. We also teach up at the Woodbury Senior Center. But yes, you are absolutely right, Jimmy.
You have to let that steam off.
You have to. You have to be sad.
Right.
You have to see. You have to have reality. This is reality. You're absolutely right.
You have to be able to bang the table sometimes. You have to be able to scream out loud. You have to be able to stamp your feet, get it out of your system, and then just breathe deep and clean it all out, and then you can go back with a fresh head and start all over again. You can't bottle that all up inside you, because you're going to explode at some point.
Exactly. And that's where, again, we're going back to support system. So at different levels. So, for instance, starting where I am now, my support system would be, like I talk to my daughter or I'm talking to you, on a daily basis. I would, because Marcia and I were back and forth. I'll say, oh my gosh, this is what happened today. And, it's heavy on your heart. And some of the other women that I'll work with. So I can release that, my immediate, my life to now and right now. Back when it was with Lou, I had a wonderful, and I still do, support system. I even took care of Lou's daughter, Pat. Oh my God, that's another story. And that wasn't, I'm not, let me say this, I'm not one to say, I'm here and I need to be your caretaker. So it's the way all care lover, as I'm saying.
Right.
In her case, it was caretaker. But Margie knows Pat, so she would know what I'm talking about. But she was my daughter, so to speak, my stepdaughter.
Yeah, she's your daughter.
And she helped me during times, and I tried to help her. But she was a very demanding person. And you know what? All right. We got on this subject. Very interesting that you're bringing this up. See, I forget. Oh,
This
okay.
is the whole idea here.
This is interesting. Now, okay. Now you go back to the kind of person you're taking care of. Okay, I got you, Jimmy. Okay, so now I'm taking care of Pat, who is like, I need this right this second. And, you didn't get the right one that I needed. Oh, well, really? And I'm driving from Connecticut to New York, to the Bronx. Okay, did that. Well, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is right, I need it, and you blah, blah, blah. And I don't, so she, I was her power of attorney and her healthcare proxy, and I had my niece Cookie with me, thank God, because I'd have her before I killed Pat, right? And I got to the point, okay, wow, God, you're good at this, Jimmy. You should be a psychologist. Really? I forget, things you forget. I'm not that young. So, okay, the other side, so I said, okay, I cannot do this anymore because there is no taking care of her, no making it any better. For instance, when she was in the nursing home, she had COPD, she had a few things, she had a lot of things going on. And she lived in the apartment in my niece's house in the Bronx, and who is the same age as she. And so she wanted to come home. We said, well, no, you're not ready to come home. They're not going to let you out. Well, I'm coming home. So my niece Cookie, the daughter of the one living there, I said, Cookie, we have to sign our life away to say, okay, we're going to get full-time aides. You come home, you cannot leave that nursing home unless we say you're getting a full-time aide. She went through all her money, unfortunately. She didn't have a lot, but as we went through it, and thank God, so Norma, when I would say to one another, and Norma was her same age, Norma would come in and she'd say, what are you doing, Pat? Why are you bothering me? Right? Why? Oh, just checking on you to see how you're doing. The long and the short would be, I finally got to a point. She went through so many aides, couldn't tolerate her behavior, and I went down there this one day, and I had the mail, and sitting with her, and said, oh, Pat, look, there's a nice Christmas card here for you. And she's sitting there, she said, and I gave it to the aide to give to her, and she threw it on the floor. I said, oh, you don't really want the Christmas card? Yeah, I didn't say it that way. I was trying to be nice. By then, we were having our time, though. And she was so opposite of her father. I said, okay. Picked it up. I said, Pat, I'm done. I walked out, and then I never went back. I didn't go back physically. I was there to take care of her, but I didn't go back physically because, just as you were saying, it was taking a different kind of an emotional toll on me.
And sometimes you have to do that. You have to walk away from it.
I was being abused. Yep. So in our conversation for Caregiving, oh my God, wow, for Caregiving, I did try Caregiving with her, but it didn't work because she didn't know how to accept not being catered to,
right.
Being whatever. She didn't respect the time of others, not me only, but even others who would be down there to take care of her. Or, you didn't do this right, or I didn't get this on time. I want this right now. Why didn't I get my tea? Where is the tea? That kind of a personality.
I've seen that a million times. For as many times as I've been in the hospital, I've seen that a million times. People doing that with the nurses and the doctors and the aides. They're so self-centered that it gets to a point where you can't help everybody all the time. And the bad thing is when it comes with family, like what you're saying, people that are trying to take care of family, they feel guilty, which is wrong. They feel guilty if they don't bend over backwards. And if they walk away from family, they feel even worse.
Yeah.
You know, like they did something wrong. And it's not. It's not. You can only do so much. And that's what I'm saying. You have to, the caregiver, whether you're family or not, the caregiver is entitled to a pity party. Because you can only do so much, and then you have to walk away, and you have to let the steam off. You have to blow that steam out, otherwise you're going to explode.
Yeah, and that's what going to say in the respect of, according to what it is, to have support systems. Be like with Lou, where he was able to go out for the day to, you know, it was like going to a senior citizen, you know, where I go now, a senior citizen locale. So he was okay. He's being taken care of. He has a good day. Excuse me. And I was working. And even if you're not working, I would say to everyone in the older population, even if you're not working, just like you're saying, Jim, it's a good thing to have that time to yourself because you need to regenerate your energy.
Can I ask you a question about the place
Sure.
where you're working? How many people are putting people into nursing homes and just leaving them there?
Where I am, it's not a nursing. I know, all right, where I work, it's not a nursing home per se. We have independent living, assisted living, the villa for Alzheimer's, and another area that's for a more need of assisted living.
Okay.
And rehab.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm saying so. It's different. You're right on this now. So most of those in the independent and assisted living, I would say 3/4 of them, if not more, because they've decided to come this way to live in here because they need to be close to their kids, and they're paying a lot of money for it.
No, I'm sure.
A lot of, yeah. Some are not. Some are there because their families are all over the place and they're not here, and they just want them to be taken care of, and they don't come. I can tell you how many, what you're saying is, there's another way to look at it too, Jim. Those people who are living there, it's not that, even though they can afford it, doesn't mean they were dumped there, but they still are sort of dumped there sometimes because the family doesn't come to see them.
That kills
a lot
me.
of ways to look at being dumped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just that just kills me.
Yeah, and I know true well how many. There were a good amount, and then one of the other nursing homes, because what I teach in the crocheting and knitting at the senior center in here, donate to Safe Haven for battered women, and then to other nursing homes where it is Medicaid based.
Right.
And that's where you see, oh my God, dumping. Yeah. And Marcia and I went down there. We go there often. From one of the women whose mother-in-law, not that she was she wasn't on Medicaid, but she was at a point where her aid was going back to wherever she lived, and she couldn't be there, and they couldn't take care. They couldn't find a nursing home without having to go through the whole rigmarole of paperwork to take her until paperwork was completed at Medicaid, Medicare, whatever the forms. And she was going to die, but they were in a really bad spot. And this one place down in Danbury, and I'll tell you that St. Paul's Lutheran home, and they opened their arms to her without any paperwork.
Really?
Because they're Medicaid there, yes. And she told us that story, and her mom-in-law died shortly thereafter. And so Marcia and I bring a lot of the blankets down there because they don't have family. A lot of the people, she did, this woman who passed, but we went in there. They're clean. A very nice place. And anyone who's there, from what we could see as we went in, they're fortunate to be there, being on Medicaid, because you can get horror stories. And anyway, so we donate a lot of the wheelchair blankets, shawls, twiddle muffs, anything that will keep anyone comfortable in their that's all like the twiddle muffs of dementia. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people do. They can't handle it. And where you're going, and I know where you're going with it, Jimmy, it's so true. Our society has changed because we were all over the damn place. Where when you and I were young, I won't put you in my age bracket, but
Well, I am, actually, but go ahead.
more family. Family took care of family.
Right.
And now everyone is all over the continent.
And
all over the whole world. And they're so busy that they don't have the time.
It's one thing to put someone into a nursing home because their care is above your pay grade, say. But you go and visit, and you keep them in the loop, or you know what I'm saying. But now it just seems people just say, well, Grandma or Uncle Bob, we can't take care of him, so put him there.
Yeah.
And what are we doing? Are we going to go see Uncle Bob this weekend? No, we're going to go to the beach. Or we're going for a picnic, or we're going to Virginia, or we're going, you know what I mean? It's like out of sight, out of mind now. Where before...
I think it comes from not thinking about some of the families I've met where I am. I mean, I know your family, I know my family, they would be there for us all of the time. But we're one of, I don't know what I'm only there on certain days, but I can count on my hand those that are there every single week. And they have one person that comes up. God bless her. Works all the time. She's whatever they can do. She's there every Sunday to take her mother out, and it's the best she can do because she works. She's about an hour and a half away.
Right.
But
I understand that.
It's a very different world we're living in. Very different world.
Now I want to ask you, Karen, what are some of the things you should look for if you got to put, just say God forbid, you have to put mom or dad into a assisted living home. What are some of the things that you should look for when you're going to look at these places? What are some of the red flags? Put it that way.
First of all, I would say, unfortunately, go online and see what their reviews are. I would say you want to be there and walk around and have the opportunity to ask that. You want to just be able to stop in and see how they're taking care of everyone, So just I'm stopping by, and do a walkthrough spontaneously. Ask questions about their. I think probably you could go health-wise. If there was anything, there's a site I'm sure online. You could Google and to say their reputation, their safety issues, how many yays and nays. Wherever you are, and every state is very different, as to their check as to what they've been approved of and what they've, no bad badges, nothing that's gone wrong. And I hesitate on that because with COVID, it's been really bad for every kind of healthcare situation, not even just in hospitals, everyone. So it's a tough one right now until we get back on track. But it's reading about the place, going to it. Go a couple of times. You just walk through it, see how they're taking care of those patients.
Like your place.
And not in the morning, go in the afternoon. Say, I'd like to come over in the evening. I want to see how, when Lou was in Putnam Ridge, you go different times. You can never guarantee. Sometimes it's not the actual place. It's the people that it's, how do I say it with not being fresh?
Whisper it to me and I'll be fresh.
The company, they could be a very good company and they're hiring people to work for them with credentials, but those credentials. And I'll give you an example. When I had my second hip done, I went to Putnam Ridge where Lou was. Oh, I love it. And my friend Kathy was staying with me at that time because she was going through a divorce. And she said to me, oh, my God, you're in the nursing home in a wheelchair and holding hands with Lou. And you're 33 years younger. So we laughed. Oh, it's okay. So I'm here. And anyway, my roommate she had a lot of issues with her bones, and so she was bedridden. And there I go again. I can't help it, who I am. Being the advocate. Oh, my God. The aide, she's ringing the buzzer. I need to be ringing. Nope. No one comes. And then the aide comes in and doesn't change her. She takes a ginger ale. All righty. Well, that aide paid big for that one because I didn't let that die. That was horrible. And so those are the types that goes on all over. And it's the quality and the thought process of the people working these night shifts. And so there's no perfect place. You just have to be proactive and be there and let them know you're there so they don't do anything that they shouldn't do.
Now, if I was thinking about putting someone in your place where you work, and if I just showed up there, they would let me walk in there?
If you came in to say, I'm thinking about, usually with the rehab end of it, there are different ends. So if you were going in from a hospital to come there to be taken care of to get better, that might be long-term, you don't know, then it's the liaison from the hospital to the nursing home part of it. We'll call it that nursing home part of it. So you then, so that liaison would say, okay, when Pat, my daughter, was in that situation, I'd had to do it a few times. What are your preferences? And my niece Cookie, thank God, her husband is a pharmacist, and they're in Eastchester, so we give them our preferences of where, when she was released, to go if they had an opening, because not everyone does. So once you do that, you can give 3 preferences, and yes, then I can call, and I'll press it over to that area. Can I come over? I'd like to have a tour. I'd like to see it. Yes, absolutely. You have the right to say, let me come and see what this place is like.
Well, I know. Now Tara did that for me with this last time with the stroke.
And I know that.
And I shared that. I ended up in Phelps, and Phelps was beautiful. I love Phelps.
Yep.
I was in Burke once before, and Burke is a beautiful place. But
that was in Burke, so I knew Burke. They did. She was like, oh my God. Back then, she said, they're working me so hard. See, there she was, the princess.
But I actually...
Well, Pat, working you hard because they want you to get better. Oh, well, I don't want to get up that time in the morning. I want to get up at this time in the morning. Oh, well, tough cookies.
Oh, I actually like Phelps better than Burke. I mean, Burke was beautiful, but Phelps was individual, where Burke was more classes. So... But that's another story.
I know I had read Adele, both of them. And so, but Tara did, so you're saying, Tara did her research.
Yeah. No, they took her for a walk, through the unit and everything. But my thing is that the liaison can show you the best. I want to be able to walk into a place, or in my case, roll into a place, and look for myself. That's my thing. I'm very hands-on. Like, I have a very hard time shopping online. Like, some people can...
Me too. I do. I agree. Me too. Yeah.
Some people can go and say, well, I like this pair of pants that are on the internet. Me, I have to go and see the pants. It's like people can read the newspaper online every day. I like to have the newspaper in my hand for some reason. Or a book.
When to say to you, I know what you're saying, but going back again, now I'm going back 21 years ago.
Well, back then.
When I had my first hip surgery, and I was working over in Poughkeepsie. It wasn't Poughkeepsie. I was over in Fishkill. Mm-hmm. And I had to go to rehab. Well, I had no idea, So I went through recommendations. I didn't have the opportunity to go over to check them out, but what I did at that particular time was I chose it because you're going to laugh at this one. I said, okay, it's around the corner from where I work, so I knew all of my girls would give me some food, and they'd come see me. My sister, my crazy sister, and my mother and my brother lived in that area, so I'd have people there. I knew my kids would bring Lou over, which they did on the weekends, because during the week all of them were busy. And I got there, and you're going to laugh. I'm thinking, oh, my God, you're making me remember all this shit. I get there, and They bring me in, and I was up. I was in the hospital. I was up. I was walking, and I get to the place, and they bring me into the nursing home, into the room, and I said, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom." "Oh no, you can't go to the bathroom." "What do you mean I can't go to the bathroom?"
Hold it.
"I can go to the bathroom." "No, you have to wait for them to check you out." "Ah, I have to go to the bathroom." "I don't need a bathroom." So that was the beginning of how I handled them. But they wouldn't let me up. "Oh, we got to check your body in case you've been abused." I have not been abused. I am not 95. I was 51. I was like, get over it, guys. But I had to follow protocol. Little did I know. I didn't appreciate their responsibilities. and so therefore, but the place was, otherwise it was pretty good once I got used to being there. So, but that's why I chose it, not thinking about, the care. Hello. I ended up getting very sick in the end. There was a terrible flu going around. I was coming home and I couldn't get home. But, it's human nature, huh?
It is, definitely.
How we decide on things at the time we do, yeah. Oh, my God, you're killing me tonight.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing your story with us, because it's been interesting. And it's been informative, actually, very informative.
I hope so, Jimmy.
It has. And it's opened my eyes to quite a few things. And, it's given people don't appreciate caregivers, especially some of the people who are disabled don't appreciate what caregivers go through. I've had people on here that tell you how rotten some of the caregivers are, but you've actually opened eyes tonight, because you've let people know what's going on. Besides, some people think that the caregiver's life is dedicated to caring for them, forgetting that you have a life other than them, if you know what I'm saying. You have a life, you have your own trials and tribulations that you have to deal with besides taking care of them. Even though you, like you said, care loving, you love taking care of them. But you also have a life. You also have a life of your own. You have you to take care of. And if you just dedicate taking care of somebody else, you lose your identity.
And that's why I go back to, you need to reach out and ask for help. And every community has, going back to the daycare for Lou, those years that he was, I'm sure so many communities have that. I'd hope so. So that you have that time to yourself.
You have to have time to yourself. I was
working, so I needed it. But even if you're not working, and I say that, I have said that over and over as people I've met over the years. You have to take care of yourself. If you don't, then you will lose it.
Right.
You have to have the time.
You can't feel guilty about wanting time for yourself. And too many people do, especially when it's family that you're taking care of.
Yep, I know. That's what I say. You have to.
In a roundabout way, and this gets put on the shoulders of the person with the disability. They make them feel guilty. It's like, oh, you're going out? You're leaving me here with so-and-so? And that's wrong. That is so wrong. The person that is taking care of you has a right to their own life. They have to have their own life, or they're going to go crazy.
They don't, in the mind, I know, yes. And not everyone can see the light at the end of the tunnel in that respect. Even, Jimmy, even with people like I see where I am, even the people who are independent they all have aids. A lot of them have aids. And they're independent, but they can afford aids. But that's a whole other story. Put it on verbal. And someone will say, oh, they're helicoptering me. But they're there because that's their job, to take care of you. You've hired them to take care of you, so they want to make sure you're safe. And they want to make sure, I said, be grateful for the person that's overlooking you to the point that you're overlooked
overwatched.
Overwatched, thank you. Other than the other one who will be saying, oh my God, that they're sleeping in the chair. There is an equal medium, I'm sure, but better have the person that's going to be overwatching you than not. And that's human nature, Jimmy, too.
But I also think, too, that
Independence on the other end of the spectrum of the person who needs to have help, but they don't want to be overwatched either.
but there's some people,
You know?
too, that, for lack of a better saying here, get off on having people watch them. But then when they overwatch them, then it gets annoying. They want people
Right.
to, they want that attention. And they crave that attention, good, bad, or indifferent. They crave the attention. And then all of a sudden it gets to be too much for them. They don't want it all the time. It's like crying
Well,
wolf.
they don't do, yeah.
And that's, I don't know. But that's
I
it.
know. You know what, Jimmy? It's called human nature. We can never. There's an equal medium to a degree, and yet there's not. And every day, I think there should be. Maybe that should be something here, podcasting, and maybe there's something out there already on it to think of for the future. In my mind, I'm seeing a list of how to take care of someone, and for the person being taken care of, how to let someone take care of you.
Right, exactly.
And have it. I'm giving you that visual, so I'm going to leave it up to you, and have it go from how to take care of someone. Go to how my mind. I'm looking up in the ceiling right now, visualizing the two columns with those questions. Hey, you know what? That might be something you could. You're going to put that out there in your, even if it's in Jimmy Apple and what I see on Facebook, but somewhere. Put those columns there with all the questions that we could think of, how the da and how on each end, and what would you want? How do you expect, or what do you look for? And let the person being taken care of answer. And if they have someone taking care of them, it's like a quiz, like just a quiz, just like, hello, how do we get along? And let the person taking care of them answer those questions.
It's an idea.
Sort of like, yeah, you got what I'm saying, right? Because I'm tired, so I can't. Now I'm emotionally like, oh, but some way, because what we're getting from what we're just talking about is emotion, respect,
Well,
big time respect.
Karen, this has been great. This has been great, and I want to thank you for coming on tonight with us.
You are so welcome, Jimmy. It's been my pleasure, and my pleasure.
I definitely want to have you back on. Definitely.
I'm right there with you, darling.
We have a lot more to discuss.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Well, thank you again.
We're a team.
You got it.
Yep.
And
love you.
Love you too. I'll talk to you again soon.
Okie dokie pokey.
All right. I want to thank Karen for coming on the podcast today and sharing that incredible story. And I want to remind all caretakers out there to remember, take time for yourself. It's very important. Remember, you're a person too, and you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of other people. And I want to remind everybody, stop by the group page. That's www.famousapple.com/group. And if you want to tell your story on the podcast, send me an email at jimmy@famousapple.com. And we'll talk and we'll get your story on the podcast too. Maybe you can inspire other people as well. And I want to remind you of one more thing. No matter what, things can always be worse. That's right, my friends. Things can always be worse. Right now, there's somebody somewhere wishing that they were in your position. So things can always be worse. Hey, we've got so much more coming up on the podcast. On our next episode, we've got the glamorous granny coming up on the next episode. You're not going to want to miss that. Her name is Lynn Bowman, and she's got a new book out. It's a cookbook for people with diabetes and other people that just want to live healthy. You may be thinking, oh, another vegan. Nope, not a vegan, but it's good for vegans. It's good for vegetarians. It's good for anybody. And this lady's crazy. She's great. She's absolutely great, and she wants to help. She's not looking to make millions off of anybody. She wants to help. And I enjoyed the conversation with her so much. I know you're going to enjoy it as well. So make sure you're here for the next episode. That's with Lynn Bowman, the glamorous granny. She's a pip, I'm telling you. You're not going to want to miss it. Hey, listen, thank you very much for being here today. You've been listening to An Apple a Day. My name is Jimmy Apple, and I'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks for listening to An Apple a Day with Jimmy Apple, your gateway to a happy, healthy life. Join our community at www.famousapple.com. See you next time.